want to truly see people get healed, then we need to work for purification of the blood. And this is why we've designed our program at BellaVita with the cleansing agents that they take, with the herbal remedies that they take, with the exercise, the emphasis on fresh air and sunshine, and a lot of purification techniques that we do, because we're trying to get the organs working more efficiently to cleanse the blood more efficiently. And I had a doctor call me once. He was dealing with a 17-year-old with a number of complications. And he said in 10 days, all his symptoms went away. And he checks their blood before the program, and they checks their blood after the program. And he called me, and he said, I've never seen such improvement in the blood in 10 days as I have with your program. Isn't that beautiful? So our program really addresses everything from kidney stones to gallstones to lots of cleansing of the colon, but also parasites, because you can have a lot of parasites in the body and people don't even know it, and that's going to cause more toxicity. So we really work in areas of purification, but the ultimate is cleaning the blood. This woman, she just sent me a note on Facebook the other day. She came to BellaVita, I think it's probably 8 or 9 years ago, and she had melanoma. Now, that's a very deadly skin cancer, and she had a bad mole on her knee, and she came to BellaVita with aggressive melanoma, and the surgeon was going to remove the tumor in the leg and many of her lymph nodes. And then the oncologist wanted to do radiation and chemotherapy. So I just told this story the last BellaVita because it's quite funny in the sense that she had 3 big sons. Her sons, 3 of them, big guys. And here their mother they love with all their lives is bypassing the oncologists and the surgeons and going to places like Stanford Medical Center and coming to a 10-day program at a barn. And they walked in with her, and they weren't happy. They said, this has the potential of killing her. And she's not going to the doctors. What's your degrees? Who are you? And just started quizzing me all these questions. And I simply looked at him and I said, look, I don't make any guarantees, but I do know this, that if God wants to heal your mother, he can. And so I said, here's what we do. We go on a program to cleanse and detoxify the body, dealing specific organs. We work to heal a person of their emotional toxins. And we also like to connect them to Jesus Christ, who's the master healer. And so I said, I can't give you any guarantees, but we'll clean her up real good. And so after she left BellaVita, it says here that 4 months after she left, she went to UC San Francisco, and they did a surgery, and they took the mole that had gone bad, and they took tissue around the mole because they wanted to do biopsy. Not surgery, but a biopsy. So they wanted to look at the cells around the mole that was cancerous. And then they took 5 nodes out of her groin. Here was the melanoma, and so they're looking up here to see if there's any cancer cells. So she came back and she told me there was no signs of cancer. No signs of cancer. And she owned a poker parlor. And she said she'd smoke all day long, drink coffee all day long, years of stress. She had a mattress in the back room of the poker parlor, her business. And she'd stay there and try to get sleep during the night because they're open all night long because people are in there gambling. So I told her, you got to sell the poker parlor. You got to get rid of it. This is too much stress on your body and you can't handle it anymore. So you know what? She sold it. There was no cancer cells, and the poker convention was coming around that year, and they invited her to be a speaker at the National Poker Convention and to tell about her recovery from cancer using alternative therapies. So in front of the poker parlor, she's talking about BellaVita lifestyles. So God works in mysterious ways, right? So I have an understanding through my studies and my research, through men like Dr. Richard Schulze and Dr. John Harvey Kellogg and Dr. Max Gerson and many, many others, and Dr. J.H. Tilden about toxemia. When you have a buildup of toxins in the body beyond the body's ability to eliminate them through the normal channels of elimination. Okay? These toxins, they can't release. So your body becomes more toxic, the blood is more toxic, and then you develop symptoms of disease. So let's read it here. When nerve energy is dissipated from any cause, physical or mental excitement or bad habits. So think of violating the laws of health. You're not exercising, you're eating wrong, you're not drinking good water, you're not getting out in the fresh air and the sunshine. You become enervated. Remember I said? Enervation is fatigue. It's lack of energy. Your electrical charge is running down. When enervated, elimination is checked, causing a retention of toxin in the blood, or what they term toxemia. This accumulation of toxin, when once established, will continue until nerve energy is restored by removing the causes. So-called disease is nature's effort at eliminating the toxin from the blood. All so-called diseases or crises of toxemia. And you know what he says? There's really one disease. There's only one disease. It's toxemia. That's what he will say. So there's one cure. And that cure is God's prescription. That if we would live according to the laws of health and practice the instructions of health that God has given us, we wouldn't have the buildup of toxicity. But if you are using sprays on your hair and fluoride in your toothpaste and sprays under your arms and chemicals in what you put on your skin and in your Clorox and your Ajax and your chemicals within the house, and then you're eating foods that aren't organic, and then you're living in a toxic world, you accumulate toxicity in the body. So that's why my wife and I were just talking about it this morning. Once I incorporated detoxification techniques in my life, I haven't had a fever in 16 years. I get a little cold or some irritation in my throat, but I haven't gotten sick in 15 years. And the point was, because I finally learned that if disease is caused by toxicity and violating the laws of health, then if I want to prevent sickness and disease, then I need to eliminate and help assist the body in the elimination of impurities, and I need to obey those laws of health. So you bet I exercise. And so my wife said to me, you know, people are sick all around me, and I'm not getting sick because we practice what we teach. Okay, so you detoxify the body, and that's what we do specifically at BellaVita. So watch this. According to the toxin philosophy, every so-called disease is a crisis of toxemia, which means that toxin has accumulated in the blood above toleration point. And the crisis, the so-called disease, call it a cold, flu, pneumonia, headache, typhoid fever, is a vicarious elimination. So nature is endeavoring to rid the body of toxin, and any treatment that obstructs this effort at elimination baffles nature in her effort at self-curing. Isn't that powerful? So what do we do in this society today? We go to the doctor, and the doctor gives you a prescription drug. You go to the pharmacy, they fill the prescription, and then there's a list of side effects. So they alleviate symptom, but they don't cure the patient. See, what I like to do is teach people on the true art of healing. You can't heal unless you eliminate the cause. So just because you have excruciating shoulder pain and the doctor gives you a prescription narcotic, painkiller, so now you say the pain's gone. But is the arthritis gone? Is the degeneration of your joint gone? Is the bursitis gone? Not necessarily. You're masking symptom. You're taking anti-inflammatories, but you haven't done anything really to heal. So what we educate people, contrary to what the medical profession does, is we educate the patient in the cause and effect. That if you are having high blood pressure, we don't want to just take a pill to lower blood pressure. We want to look at what you are doing in your life that may be creating this elevated blood pressure. And it could be anything from a magnesium deficiency to lack of exercise to stress. Okay? It could be problems with your kidneys aren't functioning as properly, all right? There's this potassium-sodium imbalance in the body. So what we try to do, rather than give you prescription drugs for high blood pressure, we tell you, well, let's evaluate your daily lifestyle. And we need to make changes in your lifestyle to get rid of the symptom. So you have a choice. Do I take a drug that causes liver toxicity and doesn't fix me at all? Or do I correct my wrong living habits and start bringing in the things that I need to do so the body can balance, which they call homeostasis. So it's balancing out the body to do what God intended it to do. We must understand that increased body mass has a corresponding increase in chronic disease. The more heavy the body, the more likely you will develop heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, liver disease, and a number of other problems within the body. So optimum weight is very important for optimum health. Follow me? So how do you maintain your body weight? What do you do to lose those excessive pounds? Well, this seems to be a struggle for many people in the world. We like eating. We love food. And then we like the salty, fatty foods. They're good on the palate. They taste good. So we make unhealthy choices of wrong foods, eating too much food too often, and then not exercising. And we become, as it were, indolent, lazy. And as a result, we put on too much weight. All right? Let me tell you something. If there's one thing I can really motivate you to do this weekend, it's not only to eat right, but it's to please start exercising. Exercise is so important. If I leave out exercise, I can start feeling depressed in a few days. But when I exercise, when I'm done, my routine is I get up in the morning, I'll drink some water, purify my body. We'll make a juice or we'll make a nice smoothie. I'll use some vegan protein powder. And then I'll head to the fitness center. I get dressed. I go into the sauna for about 5-10 minutes and start sweating a bit, warming up my body, warming up my joints. And then I go out and I do some stretching. And then I get on the weights and I'll start going through different weight machines to work certain muscles directly. And then I'll get on the bicycle, and lately I've been going 20 miles. 20 miles, and boy, you start sweating. All right, so I'm getting good circulation, good perspiration, good elimination, good urination. Everything's flushing through my body, whether it's through sweating or it's drinking enough water and you're urinating. You're eating high-fiber foods and you're defecating. So I'm removing toxicity out of my body from sitting in the sauna, from drinking the water, to taking myself a juice and sitting there sweating. So then when I'm done working out for probably an hour and a half, hard, I'll go in the sauna now, just a towel around me, and I'll sit in there and I'll perspire really good, really good. And then I'll go and I'll take myself some hot and cold showers, and then I begin my day at work. Okay? I got to, because it keeps me so disciplined. It keeps my mind clear. I get up in the morning and I like routine. I like consistency in exercise. But I'll tell you what, when you start doing that, I mean, I was walking down the street yesterday and I was just checking out myself and how I felt. And I said, I feel so good right now. So good. And but I just notice my mental clarity, and just, there's some days you feel, and some days you feel, what's different? I feel fabulous. Well, I want to maintain the fabulous. See? And so if you're not exercising, you will never feel the fabulous. You won't. You'll feel pretty good, but you can't have perfect health without perfect circulation. So remember that. So your body, through movement, through perspiration, through drinking water, through eating food, through the sunshine, you're constantly eliminating impurities from your body. Okay? It's constantly filtering. So purification and cleansing are characteristic of God's redemptive plan for mankind. We are to have our sins washed away. Truth comes from heaven to purify and cleanse the heart and the life from every moral defilement. It leads to benevolent action of kind, tender, thoughtful love towards the needy, the distressed, and the suffering. This is practical obedience to the words of Christ, and the effect of God's grace on our hearts is seen by its cleansing power, of his grace and his love. So, see those words in yellow? Physical healing is an amplification of spiritual healing. What does that mean to you? What does that mean, an amplification? Amplification, think of it this way, is an expansion. So Christ wants to heal us. So he doesn't just zero in on helping the brokenhearted, or zero in on helping the leper, or zero in on helping the person with the sin-sick soul. Christ wants to amplify and heal everybody. So physical healing is an amplification of spiritual healing, and many times there are people that are suffering physically because of what's going on spiritually in their lives. You got that? Do you ever ask yourself the question, the man at the pool of Bethesda, he was a paraplegic. He couldn't walk. And what did Jesus tell him? Go and sin no more, lest the worst thing come upon you. What did he do that he couldn't walk? Was he hit by a car? No. Go sin no more, lest the worst thing come upon you. And I know there's people, because of what trauma has happened in their life, their limbs don't work anymore. So the guilt, the weight of guilt. See, and one thing I've really learned at BellaVita, we do a therapy there called a cold sheet treatment, right? We have some people who've been to BellaVita, and they know what these cold sheet treatments are about. And it's really a time of spiritual counseling, that we put them in a hot bathtub, and that's a good thing. And we put in ginger and mustard and cayenne powder, and it gets really hot in the water, so we lay them in the hot water, which is 110, 12 degrees, and then it's chili hot, right, from the herbs. So there's a double intensity that is going to cause you to rise or raise your blood temperature or your temperature of your body. So then we take their temperature, and it goes from 98.6. Some people come in there 95.4, and it rises. And here you got 98.6, 99.6, 100.6, 101.6, 102.6, 104. So their temperature is rising, and with that increase of body temperature comes an increase of the production of white blood cells that are now going to go fight cancer cells and viruses and bacteria. So we give them tea to drink, Hyssop and Euro tea. Then we bring them in after that, stand them up gently, hold them, make sure they're lightheaded sometimes. And we've got a sheet in ice water. We wrap it around them. And there's a contrast of hot and cold. And then we bring them into another room and lay them down. And I come in and I talk to them for about an hour. And during that time, it's become really popular, the cold sheet treatment. We're doing, we get 11 people come to BellaVita and 10 people want cold sheet treatment. But during that time, a lot of people want to open up. They want to share what's on their heart, their pain. Okay? A lot of people are suffering with pain, and it's not pain in their joints. It's emotional pain. They're hurting. If I ask you the question, how many here have been hurt in their life? Emotionally hurt by your husband, okay, by your father, by somebody who raped you. You can go through a list of people. Everybody has a story. Everybody has had damage. Everybody has been hurt. So I've learned when you go into the cold sheet treatment and you start helping them, that contrast seems to open them up more to where they want to divulge. And they do. They don't want to leave BellaVita with a plugged up colon, and they don't want to leave BellaVita with plugged up emotions. Okay? So they have anger and they have bitterness. And the biggest, unforgiveness. They're mad at somebody. They can't let it go. They're still mad because of this. And you hear stories, and I've heard the most atrocious stories. They're just terrible, terrible stories of people. But I've learned today that you may have a disease that has its origin in your mind. It's not your diet. Okay? It's your anger. Okay, so either way it comes at you, whether it's mental or whether it's physical, it kind of works like this. If I'm having a problem with anger and bitterness, then I'm lacking forgiveness. And what did the Lord say? Forgive them as I've forgiven you. And if you don't forgive them, then my Heavenly Father cannot forgive you. So there's a spiritual problem. So there's anger, but there's a spiritual problem. And guess what? The body, it's a barometer of what's going on spiritually in your life. So you break down with arthritis or an autoimmune disease, but you never connected to what's going on spiritually in your life or mentally in your life. Connecting it to the pain and the suffering that you're going through emotionally, not just physically. So that's why at BellaVita so many times, this last one I just did, unbelievable. Not the true story. This woman came. It was a hard one. This last one was a hard one. And I take 11 people. There was 13. I had them in chairs around the table because they needed to come. But there were some serious cases. 4-stage pancreatic cancer. 4-stage colon cancer, metastases to the liver. Then a Crohn's disease. Then I had one lady sitting there. She was just broken. They come into BellaVita and they're broken. You can look in their faces and you know something's seriously wrong. Well, her son committed suicide a few months ago. And I go, wow. I know how tough it is to lose someone you love. And I remember when my mother was dying and I was sitting next to her and I was holding her. Her mother was going to turn 100 years old. My mother was turning 80. Her mother was turning 100. And my mother, I love my mother so much, Rosie. She looked like Gina Lollobrigida. But Rosie, what an example of a Christian character. Her love for people, never heard her say anything wrong, but one of her greatest examples to me of Christ-likeness was when she's sitting there and she had 5% lung capacity. She had tuberculosis at 15 years old, and now her lungs are failing. And she's dying. I'm having to administer to her morphine. You know what that's like, being Mr. Health and having to give morphine? Because it's a merciful death. You're easing their pain and their suffering, so you realize that finally. Because when they're gasping for air and they can't breathe, and they're crying to you, help, help, and you give them those drops, they calm down, and then they can relax. It's really tough. It's really tough to watch. But my mother was sitting there, and she was breaking down crying in her very weakened condition. And I said, Mom, you okay? And she's shaking her head. And here I'm thinking about a woman dying in front of my eyes. How would I be acting at that time? And what would I be thinking? And you know what she said out of her mouth? You know what she said? She looked at me. She says, no mother likes to see their daughter die. She was more concerned about her mother than she was herself. She says, you know, a daughter can watch their mother die at old age, but a mother watching her daughter die. And here's my mom at 80 dying, and her mother's alive at 99. And to show you the power of emotions, after my mother died, I might as well tell you this. My grandmother didn't go to the funeral. And everyone in the family was saying, how cruel is that? She wouldn't even go to her daughter's funeral. But the reason she didn't go is because she was so broken up inside, she couldn't handle it. She didn't want to go because it was hurting her so bad. So everybody's talking about how bad she was to not go to my mom's funeral. And the Holy Spirit impressed me. Go see your grandmother. Go see your grandmother now. And I'm sitting there going, she wouldn't even come to the funeral. Go see your grandmother now. So you know what I did? I took a rose, and my mom's name was Rose. I took one off the coffin, and I got in the car, and I drove to my grandmother's house, and I knocked on the door, and she came to the door, and she opened the door, and I don't know if she's going to be mad, and what are you doing here? What? Just leave me alone? She opened that door, and I had that rose, and she grabbed me and wept on my shoulder and moaned like you've never heard a human being moan because she lost her daughter. So you see the power of emotions. And my grandmother was so affected that my mom dies December 24th, and my mother's birthday would have been March 5th. And my grandmother on March 4th is failing and looks at me and says, I'm going to die on your mother's birthday. That was her tribute to my mother. And she died on her birthday. And then my father, I watched him. 6 months later, we'd stand there. I'd have him in a wheelchair. He's looking at the grave, and he sees his Rosie there, and he wants to be with his Rosie. He doesn't want to go on with life any longer. He lived with her 56 years, and he sat there, and he died of a broken heart because he loved her so much. See, you start realizing when you start looking at the depths of people's feelings and their emotions and their pain and their suffering and their wounds, that when you get into this ministry of healing, I mean, it's really, I can see why Christ loved it and had so much compassion on people, because they're hurting. So many people are hurting today. And so whether you're suffering from psoriasis, or you got Crohn's disease, or you have arthritis, or you have heart problems, don't underestimate the power of the emotions, that your heart problem may be associated to your grief. Okay? Your psoriasis may be associated with bitterness because your liver's malfunctioning. So I want you to just remember that. Physical healing is an amplification of spiritual healing. Even when people come to you, you lead them to Christ for true healing, and you can help their physical problems. So as with spiritual healing, physical restoration to sound health is also a process of cleansing. Jesus applies his cleansing blood for our spiritual diseases, sins, and sinful habits, and also the cleansing of our blood through the 7 elimination organs for our physical disease. So true remedial, health-restoring procedures work toward cleansing and rebuilding the person physically and spiritually. Sin brings defilement. Sin is polluting in nature. Guilt makes us feel stained or impure or defiled. We feel filthy and are blemished and need to be cleansed by the blood of Christ. Likewise, true healing takes place as we cleanse our blood of impurities using nature's remedies. Isn't that beautiful? So this is what we do in our school. We teach people about the impurities of the blood and the toxins, and we teach them about the sins or the violations of the laws of health and the violation of the Ten Commandments. So we want to bring people to an understanding while they're sick in the first place and help them remove the cause. Look at this statement in Counsels on Diet and Foods. Indulging in eating too frequently in too large quantities overtaxes the digestive organs and produces a feverish state of the system. The blood becomes impure, and once the blood is impure, then diseases occur. So if that's true, then would cleansing of the blood and purifying the blood help to remove the disease? Logical, isn't it? Sufferers in such cases can do for themselves that which others cannot do as well for them. They should commence to relieve nature of the load they forced upon her. They should remove the cause. Now, this is a divine prescription. Did you hear me? This is a divine prescription. Fast for a short time. That's a divine prescription. So if you overtax the body with too much food, you cause yourself a feverish condition, then how about stop eating for a short period of time? That's one of the best recommendations you can give to anybody with any disease, is to tell them to quit eating for 3 days. Stop. You know, I was leaving home, and there's my stepson and my daughter, and they're both headaches and sore throats, and they're not feeling good. And so I'm telling them things that they need to do. And I said, you guys eating? No, we're fasting. I said, good, keep it up. Okay? Because you don't want to put a lot of food into the body at a time when your body's trying to fight something off, because you're going to take a lot of energy to digest the food. And you want that energy to be used for healing and restoring the body. Okay? So, they should remove the cause. Stop doing what makes you sick. Did you write that one down? Stop doing what makes you sick. Okay? If I start feeling sick, I got to go back and look what I did. So stop doing what makes you sick. Fast for a short time. Give the stomach a chance for rest. A chance for rest. You know, this guy who came with Crohn's disease, he's bleeding, rectal bleeding, pain, pain, pain. He can't walk much. In the first day, I had all pain gone. In day 2, he's walking. Day 3, he's going 2 miles. Day 4, no bleeding. So what did you do? You feed him a bunch of food? No. Fast for a short time. Give the stomach and the colon a chance to rest. Okay? And this is very important for him. So you would use a poultice drink with charcoal and bentonite. Okay? Ground flax seeds, not the whole seed, psyllium husks, marshmallow root, and this is all powder. And I told him, I learned this from Dr. Schulze a long time ago with someone with Crohn's disease, that the black poultice is very soothing to the large intestine. So as he's drinking 5 drinks a day, all this black poultice is going into his colon, and it's soft, and it's spongy, and it's pulling impurities, drug residues, heavy metals, and it's even has clay, which transmits energy to the tissue around it. So he said, all my pain's gone. My bleeding has stopped. He's walking 4 miles. He's got more energy than he's had in a long time. And guess what? He wasn't eating. So where's he getting his nutrition? Juices. Juices. So there's no fiber. It's not going to add to irritating his colon. You've basically, when you're juicing, you've pulled out a lot of food that may be allergenic, okay, or that his body's allergic to. So people can eat gluten and have flare-up in the colon. Okay? You can be sensitive to certain things. I had a lady who ate oats and she's getting leg cramps. Another one is allergic to wheat. Another one's allergic to gluten. Another one is allergic, let's say, to rice or whatever. But typically when you're juicing, what you're doing is you're giving the stomach a chance to rest. You're taking the food in a very simple form, which is liquid. Okay? So now the colon gets to shut down because there's no fiber to evacuate, but we pack it with a combination, a proprietary blend of herbs that is cooling because the clay is refrigerant. So it can cool the inflammation in the large intestine while it's sweeping the colon and giving it a break from foods that may be irritating it. So the doctors will tell people with irritable bowel syndrome, with diverticulitis, you stay away from, you'll hear raw foods, you'll stay away from seeds and nuts and whatnot. But they don't tell you to stop eating the meat that can get in the pockets and rot. And then impurities and bacteria start proliferating in a pocket within a colon. So what I like to do is give the stomach a rest, clean out the colon, pack it with herbs that are soothing, cooling. And Dr. Schulze said something too. If somebody has Crohn's disease, another technique that you can use is instead of mixing it with water for that poultice, aloe vera or an aloe vera enema. An aloe vera enema will get the aloe vera directly into the large intestine and cool it down and soothe it. So now you work on the emotional part of the person, the spiritual part of the person, and the physical part of the person. So you got to look to all areas as contributing to the disease. Okay? Maybe there's a connection to dairy products. So what we want to do then is to reduce, this is a divine prescription, the feverish state of the system by a careful and understanding application of water. I use enemas if somebody has a fever and can reduce their fever 4 degrees from 105 5 degrees to 100 in minutes. In minutes. Because you'll cool a patient down externally with cool applications of water. Well, what about an internal application of cool water? So you're putting it externally, internally, and you can drop the fever within a person, and you don't destroy it because the fever is trying to kill bacteria, so you manage the fever. So you can manage the degrees of the fever by the careful and application, understanding application of water here. So application of water, drinking, application of water in the form of ice, pain reduction, right? Application of water in the form of steam, eucalyptus, inhalations, breathing in, aromatherapy. You can do it through an enema. You can do it through hot and cold treatments, hot foot baths. So you learn how to heal using water therapy. That's one thing that we should be knowledgeable in as well. So these efforts help nature in her struggles. And notice the spirit of prophecy, please. To free the system of, what's that word? Toxicity. That's what she's talking about. That we have to get rid of the toxins within the system. She knew what this was about. So, isn't that cool? The blood must be pure. Medical Ministry 291. God designed that these organs shall work together in harmony. Ministry Healing 234. So what do we have? 7 elimination channels to keep the blood pure. The blood itself will carry impurities. The colon, obvious. Liver, it's obvious. Kidneys, lungs, skin. So in order for us to be healthy, we must have pure blood. So therefore, we must make sure that these organs or channels of elimination are working properly. Does that make sense to you? So what happens if you're constipated and you have a bowel movement every 3 days? Then you go to the doctor and tell him you have a headache and you got joint pain, so he gives you prescriptions of anti-inflammatories and painkillers when your problem originates from constipation? See, that's where I sit there and I say, you know, when you look at the diet of America, go to Costco, just stand there and watch people buy their food. There's so much junk food. Microwavable corn dogs and hot hamburgers and all this stuff. And, you know, I walked in the other day and I walked into Costco. I had to run and get something. I bought fruit trees there, by the way. I bought a bunch of them. I'm walking in, and here's a man who came to my cooking school years ago. Bags under his eyes. He's had a heart attack. They put him on statin drugs. He has another heart attack. So the statin drugs didn't prevent any heart attack for the man. And then he's sitting there, and I'm running through, and he goes, Danny, you looking good? I said, hey, thanks. You know, I just got through working out at the gym. And he says, yeah. And I said, how's your heart? He goes, no problem. No problem at all. And then he points to his cart, and he had a package of red meat this big, bloody red meat. And he sat there, and he says, yeah, but I probably shouldn't keep eating that. Ha, 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 ha. And he looked like death. He looked deader than the steak. There was more blood circulation in that meat than there was in his face. And I just looked at him, and I said, it's so sad, because he looked puffy eye, swollen bags under his eyes. He's younger than me. And I just said, whatever. See ya, Jim. So when you look at these channels of elimination that God has given us in our bodies, the bowels, they dispose of toxins from the digestive system in the liver. See, this is so important. You know, I made a national infomercial, right? And they sold 1 million bottles. And it was colon cleansing products, 2 of them. Called it the Almighty Cleanse. The phone's ringing off the hook because I figured out something, that half the nation is constipated and doesn't have a bowel movement on a given day. 50% of the nation constipated? Well, how about you have a product that is going to move the bowels? And the evidence is in the toilet in 24 hours. Okay? So we see that many people's diseases have their origin in the bowel. I wish my new little book on detox was available. I would have brought them and gave you all a free copy. It's a little 32-page book. I wrote 6 of these sharing books now for health education. But I really go into detox, how to cleanse the 7 elimination organs, and why these, I break it down for you and show you why we are so toxic and what are symptoms of toxicity. See, I can go... I think they may be on, no, it's on the other presentation. I can read you 2 big lists of symptoms of toxicity, and everybody in the room is going to raise their hand to a few of them, okay? So you have kidneys that filter out waste products from the blood, receiving water-soluble toxins from the liver and eliminating substances in the urine. You have the liver. It chemically converts destructive toxins into less harmful substances that the colon and the kidneys can eliminate. Then the lungs. Your lungs dispatch toxins and exhalations. Deep breathing increases lymphatic flow for further toxin disposal. So what do you see there? I see that I better eat more fiber to have my bowels sweep out properly to get rid of toxicity. I need to drink more water so my kidneys will work more efficiently to excrete more impurities from the body. Also my liver. I need to take care of my liver by eating plant-based foods and certain weeds, right? Certain weeds and certain detoxification techniques. I need to exercise and do deep breathing exercises to keep my lungs clear. See, when I go, I'm sucking in oxygen. When I go, I'm blowing out carbon dioxide. So there's an exchange in the alveoli of the necessary number 1 nutrient of oxygen and exhaling a toxin. So see how important this is? So you don't exercise, so you breathe like this all day long. When I'm jamming, how much more oxygen I'm getting and the blood circulating. How much water I'm drinking in a day. You know what I get people say? No, then I have to go to the bathroom more often. And they got prostate problems and high blood pressure. And then you get people to tell them to eat more fiber. What foods have fiber? You know, they don't even know. So then you have the skin. Perspiration transports waste. Sweating skin disposes more waste than the kidneys and the colon combined. That's pretty heavy. That's the largest organ on the body, isn't it? Okay? Not the heaviest, but it's the largest. So your body's constantly trying to filter out impurities. The lymphatic system transports waste and toxins from the cells and the circulatory system for elimination in the blood. Circulation of the blood is crucial in taking toxins out of the body. So you begin to understand. This is why we're given the counsel to teach our children from the earliest ages about anatomy and physiology. Have we done that? I used to have a felt set where my little children would get up and go put the liver where it belongs on the body, and then you're teaching them about what the liver does, what the kidneys do. So the impurities of the body, Ellen White again, if not allowed to escape, are taken back into the blood. You see that? It's going back into your blood. Then it forces upon the internal organs. Nature tries to relieve herself of the poisonous impurities, makes an effort to free the system, but the effort produces fevers and what's termed disease. But even then, if those who are afflicted would assist nature in her efforts by the use of pure soft water, much suffering would be prevented. But many, instead of doing this and seeking to remove the poisonous matter from the system, take a more deadly poison into the system to remove a poison already there. Isn't that well said? And we'll give you chemotherapy to get rid of your cancer. We'll give you toxic poison to kill that chemo and give you blood transfusions to help you stay alive. Okay, so let's look at this a minute. So if there's impurities of the body, they have to escape. How do they escape? Urination, defecation, exhalation, perspiration, respiration. I'm getting rid of toxins, right? If they're not allowed to escape, they're going back into your blood. So now imagine somebody who has one bowel movement every 7 days, and all the feces is sitting in the colon, and it's not allowed to escape, so it's taken back into the blood, that filth. And this is where John Harvey Kellogg, he wrote a big, thick book called Colon Hygiene. And in that book, you know what he talked about? The dangers of a flesh food diet, because it caused what he termed putrefaction. Putrefaction was the proliferation of deadly bacteria that was being produced from the dead flesh. And so this would be in the body with constipation, and this is where they started using the term auto-intoxication, self-poisoning. So by the flesh food diet, the lack of elimination, the proliferation of bacteria, the blood was being poisoned, and they called it auto-intoxication. And they would come to Battle Creek Sanitarium sick, and he would get their bowels moving, and then he would give them, they would use yogurts and things of this nature to get the good bacteria in the body to kill off the bad bacteria. And they would heal. So a plant-based diet, no more flesh foods, get the bowels moving, get rid of the constipation, give them lots of water, get good bacteria in the body, fresh air and sunshine, and they'd come from all over the world to the famous Battle Creek Sanitarium. So what did I show? Bathing, a hot bath, perspiration, a cold sheet treatment, saunas, steam rooms, opening up the elimination through the skin, enemas. Don't call it a dirty word. You know, it was in the book How to Live by Ellen G. White, enemas, but you can't find it. You know why? Because in that day it was called a water injection. It's in her book. She also praised the nurse Sarah, who was using enemas to relieve a man of feverish bowels during the Sunnyvale years in Australia, to the doctor came and prescribed alcohol that ultimately killed him. So the good work that she was doing was cut short, she said, and they were using enemas. So was J.N. Loughborough. So was another conference man in Japan, that they were going to him and calling him the poop doctor, all right, the enema doctor. And he was getting people well while the doctors next door couldn't. So a careful and understanding application of water to relieve the congestion in the bowel of constipated people on a flesh food diet. All right? I want to show you something now. I made that infomercial, and they asked me to make another one, but because they weren't the most honest people, I declined. But I was praying to God and saying, show me something in the Bible that will solidify my teaching, that cleansing is important, and that herbs can be used in cleansing as well as water treatments. And the Lord said, let me show you something amazing. And so he took me to Psalms 51:27. But first it says in 2 Corinthians, having therefore these promises, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. So in Psalms 51, verse 2 and 7, it says, wash me thoroughly from my iniquity, cleanse me from my sin, purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. So as I'm looking in Psalms, the Lord is saying, wash me from my iniquity. Danny, how is that done? How am I washed from my iniquity? Well, it has to be through the blood of Jesus. It has to be through the cleansing blood of Jesus. But now in this illustration in Psalms 51, he compares or uses in the illustration on the power of the cleansing blood of Jesus, he picks an herb by the name of hyssop. And I said, why hyssop? He says, this is what I want you to see. I'm using an herb called hyssop. But I want you to think about the Passover. When the Lord told Moses to take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood and strike it over the lintel and the two sides of the posts with the blood. We know the Passover, right? When they took that blood and they put it over, symbolizes the blood of Christ, right? That we were covered by the blood of Jesus, so the destroying angel passed them by and didn't destroy the firstborn of the Hebrews, did it? And so we are cleansed by the blood of Christ, and we need to cleanse the blood. So all the channels of elimination work in harmony for the purification of the blood. So hyssop was used in the Passover, dipping the hyssop branch into the blood and applying it to the lintel and the doorpost. It was used in the red heifer ceremony, where they would take the hyssop and dip it in the blood and sprinkle it before the tabernacle 7 times. And then it was used in the cleansing of the leper. They would take the hyssop branch and dip it in the blood, and guess what? They would sprinkle it over the leper 7 times. Why 7 times? Because there's 7 elimination organs? Because hyssop cleanses all 7 elimination channels? So God chose an herb that was used in ceremonies of purification to use as an example of the cleansing and purifying blood of Jesus. So he picked hyssop. And as I studied out hyssop, what did I find? It increased secretion and discharge of the urine, the kidneys. It helped the excretion of toxins through the pores, the skin. It induced movements of the bowel, the colon. It removed catarrh and mucus from the bronchiotubes, the lungs. A bitter herb that cleanses the liver, useful for discharging toxins through the lymph and increases the circulation of the blood. Isn't that powerful? So they dip it into the blood, the hyssop, over the leper 7 times. Once for the kidneys, the liver, the skin, the lungs, the bowels, the blood, the lymph. So the ultimate goal is blood purification. And what part of our body needs to be cleansed? Can Scripture give us any direction? What part of our body needs to be cleansed? But you must not eat flesh with its life, that is its blood. For the life is in the blood. Be sure not to eat the blood, because the blood is the life, and you must not eat the life with the meat. And look at Joel 3:21, for I will cleanse their blood, for the Lord dwells in Zion. Isn't that beautiful? So the Lord gives us an original diet and then adds the green herb of the field, blood purifiers, hyssop, myrrh, aloe. He's given us these wonderful things for blood purification. And what does the spirit of prophecy say? The Bible talks about that the blood is the life. That's where your life is. It's in the blood. And by the blood of Jesus, you have life. Isn't that powerful? So, in order to have good health, we must have good blood. For the blood is the current of life. It repairs waste and nourishes the body. So when supplied with proper food elements and when cleansed and vitalized by contact with pure air, it carries life and vigor to every part of the system. The more perfect the circulation, the better will this work be accomplished. In order for the brain to be healthy, the blood must be pure. If by correct habits of eating and drinking the blood is kept pure, and those, look at this, those who are not in health have impurities in the blood. Those who are not in health have impurities in the blood. I don't hear this message being preached in Adventism. After 4 times on 3ABN, the doctors canceled me because they don't believe in cleansing. They came to me and said, we're canceling you on 3ABN because you're going into colon cleansing, and we don't want to represent our church with cleansing. I cannot preach salvation without talking about cleansing any more than I can preach healing without talking about cleansing. You got to cleanse the body. And I'm canceled. That's why when I met your pastor today, and he's sitting there, he watched my video on colon cleansing. He says, we got to clean the colon. I said, this is a good pastor. I think I can speak. He's not going to say, whoa, that guy went too far. But do you understand? This is the spirit of prophecy. Go do some study into the history of the Adventist health message. Come on. I mean, what had we done? You know, I took Dr. Francisco Contreras, who owns the Oasis of Hope Hospital, an alternative hospital. He's a surgeon, oncologist who was trained in Austria. And I went to Loma Linda, and we rented a building, and we filled it with people. Adventists, doctors, nurses. And this man, a Methodist, sat there and rebuked the Adventist. He said, you were the head. You were the head. He says, and now you practice medicine and open your hospitals and do it just like any other hospital. You had it. And what I hear is the equipment's in the basement of the hospitals. I'm waiting for it to go up for auction. I'm going to buy it cheap and start doing it the way that God intended. So if your blood is the current of life, then pure, clean blood and perfect, invigorating circulation yields health. So impure, clogged blood and imperfect circulation yields disease. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for the Lord dwells in Zion. Isn't that beautiful? That beautiful? So wheatgrass and juicing, eating living foods, kale smoothies, having smoothies in the morning with added kale, parsley juice, the kidneys, regenerating the body, purifying the blood. It's all there. It's all there. We got this light. But it's interesting now. I mean, I lived in the day and age where you were given wheat germ and brewer's yeast tablets and liver tablets out to people, and they're learning about wheat bran. Way back, I owned health food stores for 30 years. Now you got advertising the coupons of Costco. Hemp protein, flax seeds, chia seeds. I mean, it's mainline. It's now mainline. So my wife and I were talking. What makes us unique anymore? Because everybody's into this bandwagon of health. What makes us unique? And we were talking about it. I said, because we have the 8 laws of health. Because we understanding, I said, to stay cutting edge today, you got to bring in cleansing and detoxification as part of the healing program. Because they're not all there. When I made the infomercial and 1 million bottles sold in the United States, all of a sudden it sparked again the cleansing in America. And you started seeing what? 7-day cleanses, 5-day cleanses. Who do you think introduced that on national TV? It was me. 7-day cleanse. I was building it after the 7th, day, the 7th-day Sabbath. The number 7, God's number. I was trying to bring people and draw them into the Bible. So what we have unique is a health message in the Scriptures. Because many are preaching health, but they don't connect it with the Scriptures, with the Bible. So we need to run now. Because everybody's into stuff now today in natural healing. So what makes us unique? Plant-based diet. Many are now. You can find vegetarian stuff. You got a whole gluten-free sections in the supermarkets now. I mean, it's like the window is closing here, and we better run while we can. We better run while we can. And it's not going to be just canned veggie foods. No. Those are transition foods, not translation foods. And you better stop eating the image to the beast because it's not going to get you anywhere. Impure, clogged blood and imperfect, inactive circulation yields disease. Just remember this. So this means what? Eat lots of greens, go plant-based, get exercise, drink pure water, get good sleep and rest. It comes right back to the 8 laws of health. So look at what the counsel is. Educate, educate, educate. The only hope of better things is in the education of the people, right principles. Let physicians teach the people that restorative power is not in drugs, but in nature. Disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. In case of sickness, the cause has to be ascertained. Unhealthful conditions should be changed. Wrong habits corrected. Then nature is to be assisted in her effort to expel impurities and to establish right conditions in the system. So not everybody knows how to assist nature to expel impurities. How do you do that? Psyllium husk for the colon, right? An enema, that's going to help you expel impurities. Psyllium husk, milk thistle for the liver. How about a liver flush of lemon juice and olive oil and cayenne and ginger and garlic to purge and cleanse the gallbladder? When I was reading the book on colon hygiene, Dr. Kellogg said one of the most toxic substances in the body is the bile. And then he quotes a doctor, says it's 6 times more toxic than the urine. So they're backed up with bile. That's why, in emergencies or in circumstances, we'll do coffee enemas because a coffee enema dilates the bile and causes the bile and the gallbladder to dump in 12 minutes. And you see people with chronic headaches, migraines gone in 12 minutes, pain reduction gone. And you see the impurities because Gerson learned that the liver can become overloaded with toxicity, and that type of enema dilated the bile duct so all the impurities of the liver could be dumped out fast. So you got doctors attending our school at Risen now. Doctors, nurses, professionals are coming. People that are dying. They sit there and they say, help me. And so many times they come too late. They come way too late. So did you see this? Look at this. Wrong habits must be corrected. So how about everybody commit tonight to the right habits? There's the right habits. And God has given us through this church. And we are to educate people, pointing them back to Genesis, where all these right habits, you notice the scriptures? Genesis. Right in the very beginning, God established the laws of health in the Garden of Eden. So we teach people eat rainbows, Eat rainbows. Eat color. Get the phytochemicals. Get the phytonutrients. Re-educate your palate. Teach them about the values of raw foods. Seaweed, nutritional yeast, herbs, microgreens, wheatgrass juice, nuts, seeds, hemp seeds, sprouts, legumes, vegetables, leafy greens are foundation foods. Eat generously of those that grow from the earth. Not powerful? And what's happening in the world today of health education? Look at all the books coming out on alkalinity. Acid alkaline diet for dummies. I brought, I got a box out there, some stuff, a closed Sabbath, and I'll bring it out. But I brought this book here on acid alkaline. And what it does, you open up the book, and inside it's going to tell you if a food is low acid, medium acid, high acid, or low alkaline, medium alkaline, high alkaline. So everything you eat, you know whether you're getting a food that's acidic or alkaline. And you want to be in an alkaline state. An alkaline state. There's a lot of people today with acid reflux. They're hyperacidity. And so this is why something like drinking an alkaline water, which I think is important for those that have hyperacidity. Change your diet, get yourself some alkaline water, and you can change the pH. You can change the pH. Think green. Okay? Dr. Yoshihide Hagiwara, MD, scientist, inventor, businessman, founder of Barley Green, made this profound statement. The cells of the human body are much like those of green leaves. For example, the comparison of electrolyte minerals is much the same for both. My interest in this comparison focuses on the extraordinary similarity between chlorophyll and green leaves and human blood. In chemical structure, chlorophyll and blood would appear to be twins. Is that beautiful? So the only difference is that chlorophyll contains magnesium bonded in its structure, whereas hemoglobin contains iron. And we may say that the fluid in green leaves is the blood of the grasses and the trees. And I venture to maintain that green blood can become red blood in man. So get a juicer if you're going to use it. Okay? And look at the value of greens. I love it. Alkalinizes the body, increases energy and vitality, speeds healing, rejuvenates the body, strengthens the immune system, builds blood and red blood cells, retards aging, reduces inflammation, muscle soreness, increases endurance, the fast food answer to our nutritional needs, and the chlorophyll, concentrated sun power. It's vital for photosynthesis, which allows plants to obtain energy from the sun, and it alkalinizes, cleanses, detoxifies, fights infections, breath freshener, promotes health, circulatory, digestive, immune, eliminate cancerous growths, mental disorders, and even anemia. That's the super manna that we have that we give all the people at BellaVita. And then just get familiar with the foods that are more alkaline. You can get these charts right on Google, right on the internet, and start reading them and start filling your refrigerator and your pantry with alkaline foods. And here's something else I want you to remember. You don't have to go all alkaline. A healthy person can go 70% alkaline, 30% acid. Maybe 60% alkaline, 40% acid. But keep it higher alkaline. But if you got cancer, you better go 80 or 90% alkaline and 10 or 20% acidic. Okay? You're going to have to do it that way. But watch this. Health, I'm almost done, and disease begin in the cells. Cells that function properly need to receive life-giving nutrients and oxygen from the bloodstream. And at the same time, they need to release cellular waste. Both of these interactions can optimally take place only when the body is in an alkaline state. When the body becomes chronically acidic, however, these and many other cellular processes start to become impaired. If acidity continues unchecked, the combination of a diminished oxygen and nutrient supply to the cells and the buildup of waste inside the cell sets the body into motion for fatigue and disease. So when you talk acid alkaline, you're talking about the pH, or the potential of hydrogen. Indicates whether a fluid or compound is acidic, alkaline, or neutral. So pH is measured on a scale of 0 to 14, and a measurement of 7 is neutral, lower than 7 is acidic, higher than 7 is alkaline. So 9.5 is higher alkaline. 3, 4, 5 is more acidic. Your stomach acid may be 2 to 3 to 4 in acidity. So is your soft drinks. One of the number one things they say, for any acid problem, get rid of the soft drinks, phosphoric acid. To maintain health, we need slightly alkaline, oxygen-rich pH. So just to show you quickly, if you're not getting an alkalinity in your diet, look at all the things that can go wrong in your body. Loss of calcium in the urine, causing bone loss and osteoporosis. Loss of potassium and magnesium stores in the body, resulting in hypertension and inflammation and pain. Protein catabolism, the breakdown of protein, resulting in muscle wasting and age-related loss of muscle mass. Irritation of the urinary tract and bladder that can lead to frequent and painful urination. Suppression of growth hormone, insulin-like growth hormone, other pituitary hormones, accelerated aging from accumulated acid waste products, increased production of free radicals resulting in lower immune capacity and premature aging, more kidney stones, lack of energy, retention of fluid. Look at the list. And what do we see in America today? Weakened mental capacity, increased acidity, more dental caries, more periodontal disease, hypothyroidism, suboptimal liver detoxification. This is what's happening. Donuts, coffee, hamburgers, hot dogs, ice cream, cheese, red meat, tobacco, coffee. This is the diet of America. And look at the chronic disease. And they go to the doctor. It's so ridiculous, the cost of medicine today. The cost of medicine. You go get an endoscopy, $8,000. The guy's in there 20, 25 minutes. $8,000. So get yourself some pH papers. You tap it on your tongue or on your urine. You compare it, and you can determine if your body's in a state of acidity or alkalinity. It's that simple, all right? So as I close, Sabbath is ending. I just want to tell you that I'll open up for some question and answers. But at BellaVita Lifestyle Center and Risen, the School of Natural Hygiene, we teach the students that in order to heal the body and eliminate the symptoms of disease, we must seek out the cause and remove it. Wrong habits must be corrected if true healing is to take place. So we instruct in God's laws of health, cleansing the 7 elimination organs, teach on hydrotherapy, cold sheet treatments, fever baths, hot and cold fomentation, steam baths, enemas, about organic, well-crafted herbs, instruction in the science of raw food preparation, purging negative, toxic emotions of the mind and building a strong spiritual life with God. So I end my presentation when I go to churches, when I go to all denominations with this. I now move for commitment. I'll do it with you. Okay. God's health plan should be simple. But it's going to involve change. And you're going to have to take responsibility because I can't do it for you. We understand that? You got to do it. And it's going to be simple and it's going to make change. And I want to see if you can make a 10-day commitment tonight. 10-day commitment. And we're going to start with nutrition. Do you think you can eat whole plant foods only for 10 days? Raise your hand. Okay, so some of you are going to keep eating meat. Okay. Where's my video camera? No. Okay. Okay, whole plant food diet for 10 days. Raise your hand. Okay, good. Majority. How about every day we're going to do some walking? Can we do that? Okay. How about 6 to 8 glasses of water a day? Can we do that? Can we do that? How about getting some sunlight every day? And we're going to get fresh air every day. And we're going to get sleep and rest every day. And go to bed before midnight. Because an hour of sleep before midnight is equal to 2 hours after midnight. So you see? And then we're going to, what? Practice self-control. and we're going to build a spiritual life. Can we do that for 10 days? 10 days. Because when you leave this room, seems so easy right now. You know, you don't want that meatloaf to go bad in the refrigerator, right? Okay, so in closing, we're all going to read this out loud, then I'll do some question and answer. Ready? Let's go. I must become acquainted with myself. I must be a learner always as to how to take care of this building, the body God has given me, that I may preserve it in the very best condition of health. I must eat those things which will be for my very best good physically. I must not deprive myself of exercise and air. I must get all the sunlight that is possible for me to obtain. I must have wisdom to be a faithful guardian of my body.